Nutty Pot Limit Omaha journey. Today's a little bit of a celebration for me. I've reached 50 plus followers today, which is exciting because I've been streaming. I mean, I streamed a little bit in like 2016 when, I was like, oh, Twitch, what's this? But in terms of the last year is when I kind of started streaming on and off, but it was about 3 weeks ago, 23 days ago, in fact, that I decided I'm going to stream every day. I'm going to do this part as a way to kind of build my own personal habits to just make sure that I'm playing a good focused session of Omaha every morning and doing a session review immediately afterwards. So that I'm progressing at the game, but also as a way to try to like build my Twitch, where in the long run I'd like to stream games like chess and maybe Morrowind or the newer Elder Scrolls games, and also to things like Duolingo and maybe do some commentary on stuff that I do podcasting on. More of that in a moment. But I'd like to start off by just giving thanks to, first of all of my friends and family who have followed and helped me out. Today was one of the few times that, I try not to ask too often because I always have creative projects that I'm launching, and I think over the years, sometimes it can get tiresome if the only thing you ever hear from a person is like, oh, hey, can you, follow this? Can you do that? Can you support my project? But at the same time, you probably have friends and family in your life, I know I do, who want to support whatever it is you're doing. And so I think reaching out to people and, not doing it too much constantly, not having it be the only thing that people hear from you. But I think it's an important thing to not be afraid to do, right? To say, this is something I really want to do. It's important to me. And if you can help, that would be fantastic. So thanks to everybody who's helped out that way. The second thing, yesterday I followed a poker streamer, Kevin E. Poker on Twitch, who is doing something very much what I'm doing. It's funny, I started 6 days after they started, but I had no idea that there was someone else doing almost the exact same thing, streaming Pot Limit Omaha every single day, mostly on Ignition. They're playing one level up, PLO100, and their stream starts basically right after my stream. So I highly recommend anybody who's interested in Pot Limit Omaha, go ahead and check that out. Kevin's a former limit hold'em professional, as am I, and we connected over that, and it was really fun watching the stream while doing my own poker session. It felt like hanging out with someone playing poker, but I was playing my own poker, so that was fantastic. And he did give a follow, and I appreciate that, and gave me a shout out a couple times on the stream, and that really helped out. And that's kind of, the moral of the story isn't like, oh, go find channels that you can get followers from. It's like, find the people who are interested in doing what you're doing and check out what they're doing, talk to them, find your community, right, of people who are doing similar things. So first, I'm just going to thank all of the individual followers, right, because usually I do this at the beginning of the stream, and there have been a bunch more all of a sudden. So it's by far the most that I've ever had at the beginning of a stream. Let's see, if we go back, yeah, I think Here We Go and Robin Hooded were new yesterday. But again, thanks to Kevin E. Poker, thanks to PPI Posse, which I think is like the power of positive thinking in poker or something like that. Thanks to M10M10. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Scoot85, and then Free CP Lad 3454, who, as the 50th follower, I put out a thing. I was like, whoever's the 50th person to follow will receive 1 hour of coaching session of anything I can coach, which includes, some kinds of poker, depending on what your skill level is, chess, depending on what your skill level is, Taekwondo and yoga, which I don't practice that much anymore, but I can kind of advise on, and just kind of general learning stuff, or a collection of stuff I've written, a custom piece of flash fiction, or a special podcast episode on a subject of their choosing. I do a lot of podcasting with Matthew Davis McCreary Fox, who I'd also like to give special thanks to for just being so supportive of all my creative endeavors, but here kind of getting me introduced to the Stranded Panda network, which includes Matt Carroll, Jeff Randall, and the inimitable Ashley Coffin, all of whom I'd also like to thank, along with everybody else who's listens to our podcast and gives feedback. We just did a feedback episode recently. It was very fun. Anybody just coming from the poker world, I have very outspoken, very radical views on, I don't know, the world. So if you're interested in that, you can check out the podcast. If you're not, that's fine. Not everybody interested in the podcast is going to be interested in the poker. Not everybody in the poker is going to be interested in the podcasts. Basically, I think in general, we want to find what we're interested in and, dig into that. But so thanks to all of those people, all of my friends and family who were like, what's this Twitch thing? But some of whom watch on the regular. Again, Kevin E. Poker, who gave a nice boost yesterday, and whose stream I'll definitely be watching again today after this session. I'll do my grind and where I play more tables. And eventually I'm going to put that on stream. But for the moment, I kind of want to do this very contained, focusing on what I'm doing in the moment and just like really just trying to focus on improving every day, just a little bit, right? If we improve a little bit every day, in the long run, we can get great results. And then also thanks to Yulia BMCC, a dear friend, Yoda Hugh, who I believe is another Stranded Panda friend, and Sunny Tetris, another Panda. So thanks to all of you so much. I'm going to verify that there isn't anybody else yet. Okay, so we're at 53. I'm going to get the poker going now. And if I missed anything, if I missed anybody, just know that I also, I appreciate everybody who's followed, and I appreciate people who haven't followed also. But if you haven't, then you're probably not watching, so like, don't worry about it. We got dealt in the first hand. We had garbage. We throw out garbage. 5-5-4 with the king, not a very good hand. Single suited, but suited to the 5, so we're only 5 high here. I'm going to make a mark that this person's open limped the cutoff, and we're clearly going to fold this hand because it's terrible. If it folded to me, I think it's probably a fold anyway. But I'm trying to keep the thing on the thing. Free CP Lad says my favorite is Robbie Reyes. I love his story. Yeah, that they used Robbie Reyes in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., correct? That was the Ghost Rider I think that they had. I really enjoyed that story. I haven't read a ton of comics. I've read some, but it's kind of like every now and then I'll like read a bunch and then I won't read any for a while. Will and Steve at Hype is My Superpower, another podcast, definitely have gotten me to read more than I had in the past. And I might, if I didn't have like 100 other things that were, well, Mephisto confirmed, eh? The flop is 666, and I just need a screenshot of this just to, share with the pandas, just because, like, try and get a bunch of pandas to watch my stream, and boom, the flop is 666. I don't think it's a coincidence. So yeah, but it's an interesting flop. I was watching Matthew's stream yesterday, the Ethical Panda, at on the Twitch. Who also, if you're interested in PLO and kind of the like learning journey there, and or doing that while studying, while talking about various kind of pop culture fiction, I recommend that channel. They're a newer PLO player, I guess you could say, but there was a flop like that. I think it was 555. I know it was 555 because I said that looks fake, like it's a phone number 555. But when the board is trips, it's like nobody can have a draw to anything, right? Because you either already have a boat or quads, or you're basically not going to make anything. You can make a better boat if you have like 10-10 and 6-6-6 and a 10 comes, and now you're going to beat aces, kings, queens, jacks. But by and large, there's just like not bluffs. Those are tricky spots when it comes to trying to think about like game theory, how you're going to work with that, like in spots where it seems like how are you going to come up with bluffs? And in fact, you're going to take really weak made hands or hands with blockers or whatever and try and turn those into bluffs. But Those are you get some weird output from the solvers when you look at those. And I think overall, like, you can just play them pretty straight up. All right. Let's see. Maybe we will get a hand that we want to play sooner or later. This one. All right. Am I reaching? Am I reaching? Yes, I think so. I think this is double suited trash from, we already know this person. We are going to give them a promotion to green. Green means they are a friend of the game. Like somebody who, we want them in the game. This Queen 9 8-5 double suited, it's the best kind of version of itself, right? Where it's suited to the queen, it's suited to the 9. It's double suited, of course. And the queen and the 9 connect, and the 8, and the 9 and the 8, and the 5 connect, but it's not that good. If we're on the button, I'm confident we're going to open it. I'm going to just look this hand up, like, what do we do with this? What positions is this a raise from? Can I open it from the cutoff, or is it really just button? And then what about the small blind? This is another one of those boards where nobody has a flush draw, right? Because either you have a flush or you don't have a flush. In PLO, having one diamond, you can't make a flush. So that's something to be aware of, and to not. This game is fantastic. Everybody is playing like every hand except me, who is not playing any hands. This person too. They've played, let's see, 3 out of 4 hands. They're overlimping, which is probably not ideal with the rake, especially. But if they raise, like, they're not going to get a bunch of folds. So I think it's potentially defensible with some hands. Jack 4-4 is the type of board that I think usually we want to use smaller bet sizes on, because, again, there's no draws on the board. You kind of either have a 4, maybe Jack, or like a Jack, and it's just so easy for people to miss. You don't need to bet a lot to make them fold, to give them a sort of decision with all those hands. Okay, Ace King. So they bet large on the flop, just stone cold bluff, trying to get 10s to fold. That didn't work, which is humorous. I'm going to say check call 10-10 XX on Jack 4-4 rainbow. In limped, we'll say out of position in limped pot. Limped multi-way pot. So, that's kind of something to note. All right, let's see. This, against somebody who's been raising a lot, I have double suited 6s. The 7 connects, the 10 connects, but not great. I think this is a hand to take a flop with. I flop open-ended straight draw, top pair, backdoor flush draw. The open-ended straight draw, though, only the 4 gives me the nuts. The 9 would be not such a fantastic card. I'm going to check and, I believe, call if this player bets, unless something weird happens. This could be a spot where I should be playing more aggressively. Wow, they bet 3/4 pot. My hand all of a sudden kind of shrinks up. This player has been... I don't have any post-flop stats in my HUD right now, because I feel like my sessions haven't been long enough to really warrant that. I am going to pop up a note thing here. I'll put it on the side. Add some post-flop stats to HUD. Basically, I do have top pair. Top pair with no kicker. The double 6s. I'm just gonna fold this and not really like it. It's pretty nitty, but there's just I guess the way I would put it, the reason that I'm folding that hand, even though against that player, basically it's because it's that player that it doesn't feel quite right. But against the larger bet size, I'm going to be out of position, and there's just so few cards that are going to let me play confidently on future streets. Ace 8 7-5 double suited. This is the best of this variety. In this lineup, where I think I can get a 5-way single raise pot, I'm going to call. I think this could be a 3-bet also. I could have missed the flop by more, but not by that much more. So I'm going to check, and if I get a free card, I could bank the nuts with a non-club 4. I could pick up some bigger draws, but mostly I'm going to be check folding here. And this is a sort of, I think 3-betting or not this hand, I will mark it. I'm not confident that it's a 3-bet. I'm still working very much on my pre-flop game. But one thing I say is that the game dynamic, like this hand I think is going to be really nice to take multi-way flops, take flops multi-way with a big pot where I haven't necessarily put that much in, but I can flop tons of equity. I can flop hands that are going to be very dominating. And if I 3-bet, then I'm probably also going to get a bloated pot out of position, but I'm going to have to stack off more often. And it might be 3 ways, it might be 4 ways. I don't think I'm going to have such a big equity edge. I think that's the type of hand, if we're 3-betting it, which I'm not confident we are, I think. Okay, so here I have the nut flush draw blocker, and I have 4 overcards. I have a runner straight draw. I'm going to check it back. I have no piece of the board besides that. Now I think I can bet, because I think I can bet this 10 for value. I think I'm going to get a lot of folds. My 9 is blocking a lot of straight draws. I think I can get calls from draws and be putting that money in good. And then if they brick, I basically just take a showdown. Yeah, so, I mean, that's one that I could discuss further as well. As always, anybody, if you have any anything that any hands that you want me to review more, just type the whole cards in the chat, and if you're on YouTube watching this, then try to include the timestamp as well. That'll help me find the hand, and then I'll be happy to either review it in the session review here, or if it's on YouTube, to give further commentary to the hand. If my YouTube videos are 2 weeks behind my streams, so by the time something's posted on YouTube, hopefully I have a better way of thinking about the hand than I did 2 weeks earlier, right? I feel like I'm improving significantly. I still have a long way to go to feel, truly good at this game. The idea behind my stream is not, here's how you play Pot Limit Omaha. The idea behind my stream is, here's how I am going about learning to play Pot Limit Omaha better. And hopefully there will be a nice, satisfying progression from episode 1 until episode whatever I end up with. And aces are a clear raise. And hopefully, yeah, so basically it's a journey, right? There's a reason I'm calling it a journey, because it's going from point A, which is having a basic understanding of the game that I think is useful. Let's look at this board. I think with the flush draw on board and the connection of the queen and the 9, I'm going to bet half pot. My opponent's fairly passive, so I don't expect to get check raised a ton. I'm not just going to bet naked aces on this board, but I have the nut flush draw. I also have a 4, which is nice because it's blocking bottom set. It's blocking some 2-pair combos. So I think that's a pretty good hand to use as a c-bet there, and not be afraid of getting c-bet for various reasons, but to, sorry, I'm going to call this. I started to read something, and then I kind of lost my train of thought. So if you're just tuning in, welcome to the stream. I have finally reached 50 followers, and so hopefully soon I'll be an affiliate and have subscribers and be able to run ad breaks for products that I don't support. They're probably going to look at this stream and then be like, oh, you don't support our products, and I don't know. I don't know exactly how the whole process goes. Double suited 7s and 3s are a quality starting hand. Very clear call, I would imagine, in this spot. I'm not sure whether all double pairs. I would imagine all double suited pairs are going to be a call. Big blind versus button, and then small blind call. There's going to be some 3-bets as well. So we can mark this and learn more about this spot, right? My idea here is to basically try to get, let me see. Let me 3-bet here. To try to get, take a few spots every day and just learn to play them better. Oh, I feel like I know who you might be now. So free, I'm just going to call you Free for now. Says, congrats, get that dough. Thank you. Yeah. On most poker sites, there's a thing called rakeback for the uninitiated. And they basically, every hand, the house just takes some money out of the pot. They're like, that's ours and that's ours. And so the house always wins. And you play against other players trying to take their money and trying to take more of their money than the house. The house taxes you, right? Every time you take a pot in. This I'm going to raise if it folds to me. And I think I will ISO this player because they are so loose. And this game looks so good. But yeah, I think it's, let's see, what the heck was I talking about? All right, oh well. I'm a little, I woke up very early this morning, way earlier than usual, like 7:30, which maybe for some people like 7:30, that's not early. For me, it's early. I've been mostly waking up at 9. This is a terrible flop, and we can just check and check and check. Unless I catch 2 runner Broadway cards. Nope, we're done. And then I'll make the nuts, as long as there's no spade. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, so the house takes some money, and we try and beat our opponents for more than the house takes. On most sites, the house is then like, oh, now you get this little bit back, and they call that rake back or some kind of rewards program, often to try to, induce loyalty, to try to get you to play a lot of hands, because you get a little bit of money back, and maybe you get a higher percentage if you play more hands. That's not as much how it works anymore, but that was the basic format. And they had aces full of 6s, which was almost the nuts. There was a straight flush possible. I will raise aces with a deuce and a tray. These side cards are not fantastic. I do have nut spades, and they do connect, so there's going to be some good things here. But yeah, my idea is kind of in terms of poker, I'm going to look at being an affiliate as like getting some rake back, right? Like normally you'd make a few bucks from the site. They give a little bit of money back, and then that's kind of, you can think of that kind of like your salary, and then your winnings, they're going to fluctuate. It's going to go up and down. And in the long run, you can take out from your winnings, but it's hard to really rely on that in the short term. All right. So for a moment, I hallucinated that I had pocket 2s, but on this board, I'm blocking the deuce. I'm not blocking a king, a 9. I do have backdoor spades, but I'm blocking my own backdoor spades. I don't think this is a board where I want to lead out in a 5-way pot. In fact, I'm not super jazzed about putting more money in the pot. Now, I do have the nut flush draw, which is great, but Jack 10 makes the nuts. And it's easy to make Jack 10, right? There's 4 jacks left. There's 4 10s. I'm not blocking any of them. If I had a blocker, I'd think about betting here, although, frankly, 5 ways, I don't love it. If there's a small bet, I think I can call, but if there's a large bet, then, like if somebody bets pot, it's probably not worth it to try to draw to my nut flush. They bet half pot, so I'm getting 3-1. 3-1, I have, I guess 8 outs. The king might be bad, so I have 7 outs to the nuts. Kind of the nuts. I mean, Jack of spades, 10 of spades, 8 of spades aren't totally the nuts. I do think I can call this because I think this player is often going to call a bet on the river. And if like a deuce or a 9 or something comes off, there's a chance that they don't have the straight. Now, granted, I wasn't closing the action, but I would expect these other players to usually bet here with the made straight. And I do hit the deuce, which is interesting. I don't think I can get value from like king queen. That would be a possibility. If they have Jack 10, though, I think there's a reasonable chance they check it back and I get a showdown. If they bet, like, I could turn my hand into a bluff is another thing that I can think about here. I can think about calling because I have tripped with an ace. I do think the nuts are going to be so prevalent, and then, queen is another possibility. I'm going to go ahead and fold this. Perhaps a little nitty, but I think it's fine. Maybe not even nitty. Maybe even thinking about calling is too loose. These are the things that we try and navigate. It was just so easy for them to have Jack 10. I thought they would often check it back on the river, so that's going to reduce the number of hands that beat me that they're betting with. Basically, then it's like, king deuce, queen deuce, 9 deuce. Pocket 9s, pocket kings usually bet the flop, but for a player like that, who knows? Just a lot of hands that beat me. And the river was pretty good because sometimes they're going to check back king, queen, and I'm going to win, but not good enough. Okay. But yeah, in terms of which Marvel comics I would love to see in live action, I would really enjoy Gambit. I'd really enjoy Jubilee. I feel like some of these, it would be nice if they made some smaller movies that weren't about saving the world. I think in general, it's nice when, if you're not going to have a movie be a big team up movie, like you can't have it be about saving the world anymore. If you've built out this huge universe where there's all these huge heroes. So I think I would really like to see some smaller stakes things. But I will, we'll do some kind of an episode thing about that. All right, so I flop a lot here. I've got open-ended straight draw. I've got spades. I could lead out. My spades aren't that good, so mostly I've got the open-ended straight draw in terms of like nut draws. I do think I can easily call a bet here, and if everybody checks, I'm going to bet the turn, unless it's a card that I really dislike, like maybe an ace, maybe a queen. I think almost everything else is okay. I'm going to call pot size bet, even though, oh, I forgot to top off. All right, so I've got a good number of outs to the nuts. I have this out, these, this is an out to the third nut. So I have the third nuts now. They snap checked back. So what can I do here? Can I bet small, try to get calls from something? I'm going to bet small. If they made a boat, they made a boat, and they're going to put in a raise. But I like these small river bets out of position. In position, I don't really generally like small river bets. I did see a very nice one yesterday. But in general, that was on Kevin E. Poker's stream. Again, check that out. If you like what I'm doing, definitely check out what they're doing. Ace, Queen, 8, 5. Nah. Okay, I will top off now and probably end pretty soon. No, we've only got 4 hands to review, though, so the review's not going to be that long. I'm trying to make these more like an hour now. I had been going 90 minutes, and at some point I'm going to go towards longer streams, but I think this format, I want to do a little smaller, a little more concise, and, take it from there, and maybe more branching out into a wider variety of content at some point. But I do want to remain consistent with this. Get this session in really focused, although I know I've been a little all over the place in conversation. Most days I'm going to try and discuss the hands that I'm not involved in as well. Actually, maybe we should mark some of those recent hands. I'll mark this hand just for review, and the aces, let's mark that for review, and we'll chat about it briefly, see if anybody has any questions. So, yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to this one, but let's pay attention to the next hands. Maybe do another orbit after this, and then we will proceed. Okay, ace-ace, 10-3, double suited. The 10 connects to the ace, the 3 connects to the ace. They don't connect to each other. That's fine. Very strong hand, double suited. It's hearts and spades, so in my view, it's also the prettiest. Team colors. It's the anarcho-syndicalist in me. And, yeah, so I get 2 callers. I flop pretty bad. 10-9 is a straight, and I'm blocking it. There's clubs. These are cards that people play. I'm going to check it back. I don't think this would be a particularly good spot to bet. Now I have a gut shot to the nut straight, nut straight, but it's not the nuts. And if anybody has clubs, I'm doomed. And a jack, nobody... I think there's a reasonable chance that my hand is best. If I face a bet, I'm just going to have to fold, especially pot size bet. I'm not blocking any of the boats. I'm not blocking any of the flushes. I'm barely blocking, I'm blocking some straights, but just one straight, right? Okay, ace, queen, 8-4. I'm not sure whether this would be an open single suited, but with the 2 extra cards, I think it's going to be a fold. So I'm just going to mark that, though, and try and think if it was like ace queen suited and then 4 and 8 of other suits, which would be better because I wouldn't be blocking my own flush draw. Would that, how would that work out? So let us see. Like, would that be a hand I play? All right, this board, there's money going in, and I wasn't paying attention. Okay, we'll try to improve that going forward. It's hard kind of balancing the like entertaining stream with the poker, hyper focused on the poker. 6-7 was the nuts on the flop. It's still the nuts. So, whoever was betting is whoever should probably still be betting. They were up against top and bottom pair with the nut flush draw with the gutter to a chop with a 6-7. So that seems like a very reasonable hand to have been drawing to. Over here, we will mark this person as an open limper. This game is fantastic. I'll be a little sad to leave, but not that sad, The games will probably be fantastic later, because that's how these games are. King, Queen, 7-6. I feel like maybe I can play this. The King, Queen, and the 7-6 have nothing to do with each other. They're raising a limper. I'm going to fold, and I'm going to mark this one for post-session review. This might be too tight. I'm not sure, but I might only be thinking it's too tight. I think it's probably reasonable-ish. It can't be that much too tight, I think. We'll check it out after the stream. I think that's a very powerful thing whenever we're doing anything in terms of performance, to see something that we're not sure of and be like, okay, I will deal with that later. And to have a system where we know we'll deal with it later, and so we don't have to keep worrying about it. Sometimes we might still keep worrying about it. I'm still working on that. But to kind of be like, yeah, I'll mark it, let it go, move on, right? And, if somebody has questions, I will answer questions, particularly if I don't currently have a hand. But I think just in terms of performance-wise, we really want to not hang on to so tightly things that were, our uncertainties, right? We want to recognize, okay, I'm uncertain about that. I'm going to take an action based on the information I have available to me now. Like, I'm pretty sure ace, king, king, deuce, even just suited to the king. I think this would have been a 3-bet because I have the ace. Kings with an ace are often a 3-bet. We often have to 3-bet fold. Here, I have a gut shot to the nuts. I have one spade blocker, and I have an overpair, and a backdoor wheel draw, and backdoor flush draw. Maybe that's enough to bet. I don't know. I'm not blocking any of the board pairs or board 2 pairs. That's why I'm checking. Let's see what kind of bet sizes this person favors. I'm trying to think. They've been half potting a lot, and I feel like half pot is a bet that I might call here. They check. No, they didn't check back that other one. Okay, so now the flush draw has come in. I'm not blocking the nut flush. I don't think they have the nut flush. So my king of spades is fairly powerful here. But I have a little more showdown value than I'd like to be turning this into a bluff. Now I have a wheel. So I'm just going to bet $2 and be like, you want to call? Okay, so they had the worst possible flush, and that's fine. I could have checked, and they could have checked back. I thought there might be some value there. That's maybe a little optimistic. Not sure. I'll put that under review, and we'll get to it momentarily. Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty reasonable spot for them to be checking back a small flush. That's not a player that I really want to be trying to get to fold a flush. On the river, that's not what I was doing. I was basically saying, okay, I have a straight. I think they might call with some pair type business. There was no reason to really think that they had that much of that in their range, though. I think a lot of that would bet the flop. So in retrospect, I don't particularly like my river bet. I think I should have just check folded unless they bet like $1, and I can be like, okay, we'll see for $1. But again, we'll circle back to that. We've got 3 more hands to play. Looks like a straight. Not the nut straight, but a jack in any card from 9 through king makes the same straight. King 10, 9, 8 with a suit. I think I raised this from the cutoff. There's a nice, it's a 2-gapper where there's double gap between the top card and the next card, but then we have a 3-card rundown. 10, 9, 8. That's going to give us a lot of good flops. Being suited to the 9 is the worst version of this hand, but I'm often going to get, the player behind me isn't super loose, and the big blind is, so playing hands against the big blind seems very attractive. This might be one of the hands that I do want to tighten up a little bit, and if it's a borderline cutoff open, maybe fold it. Here, I think I'm going to bet about 60% a pot. Let's go 666. Why not? Maybe it'll scare people off. Ooh, didn't scare them off. Did not scare them off. Now I have top 3 pair. There's no reason to think anybody has a set. I'm just going to go ahead and bomb it, and we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be flush draws out there. There's going to be straight draws out there. I'm blocking both a little bit, but I don't want to give them a cheap draw, basically. I think my hand's very likely good, and if they want to draw out on me, they're going to have to pay to do it. Let's mark that last one, though, mostly for pre-flop. I'm pretty comfortable with post-flop. It feels right to me. Double suited 5s with a king and a 3. The 3 is pretty bad. It does connect to the 5s. I think this is a fold. If it's not a fold via the matrix, I think, maybe this is kind of atoning for last hand, maybe being too loose. I'll tag this hand in progress for pre-flop as well. Brilliant flop. I would have flopped the nuts with a blocker to a chop, right? So I have an extra 5, which is nice in this spot. Less likely to get chopped. We're less likely to be getting free rolled. And we're going to fold this last hand. And I will now proceed to the session review. Now I have 11 hands marked. So I went from 4 to 11 real fast. We're going to bang through some of these a little faster than we have been in the past. I'm going to pull up the pre-flop matrix. There it is. Oops. Okay. And I am the hijack, or MP, right? So I'll look at my opening range, I'll look at double suited 5s, and it will tell me, yeah, good fold. Okay, so we'll just say king 5-5-3, double suited is fold from hijack. Mostly raise ace X and connected side cards and 4-4 to deuce-deuce with 5-5 double suited. There's maybe a more artful way to express that, but that's the gist of it, right? 5-5-8-7, 5-5-8-6, double suited these things. It does 5-5 king 6, sure, but the 3 is just a little too bad with a king. So we move to the next hand, and this one I am also going to look up pre-flop. We're going to say cutoff, king 10 single suited, but not suited to the king or the 10. So king 10 single suited 9-8, yeah, this is a raise. In fact, I can raise this and even call a 3-bet. So king 10 9-8 single suited is clear call, or sorry, clear RFI from cutoff. King 10 9-7 bad suit, and king 10 8-7, king 10 good suit, and king 10 7-6 good suit are all RFI from cutoff. So that means if I'm suited to the king, then king 10 8-7, king 10 7-6, those are raises. And even if I make the 8 a 7 in this spot, I would still raise it first in. So this is fine pre-flop. I get 2 calls. Okay, not ideal, but I flop top 2 pair. The deuce being a deuce is important because out of all the pocket pairs people play, deuces are the ones they play the least, right? So I'm blocking pocket 9s, I'm blocking pocket 8s, and pocket deuces are kind of just blocked by reality, by the way people play. Not really blocked, but yeah, somebody can have a set, they can have me beat, but they probably don't. So I bet a little more than half pot, and I get 2 calls. So that's like, okay, what do my opponents probably have? Well, they can have hands like 9-8. They could have 9-8. They could have 9-deuce, 8-deuce. But again, not a lot of deuces. So they probably have a lot of draws, right? I have the 10 of hearts, so I'm blocking some draws. But I have the 9 and the 8, so I'm blocking more made hands. They can have some over pairs, pocket jacks, pocket queens, stuff like that. When the turn's a king, none of the draws get there. I could have bet a little less and just been like, yeah, if you want to draw, you can draw. And if you get there, I'm going to check fold. That would have been an approach. Here I just decided to go for maximum pressure. Just say, hey, if you're these are the types of players who might be like, I don't care what the odds are. Never tell me the odds. I've got queen 10 jack. Like I'm calling. Let's go. And they might even get it in. And like I'm not folding to a jam from the, I don't know. Am I? Probably not. Maybe. I would be very unhappy to see a jam. I'll put it that way. I might be getting free rolled by like a, king 9 with hearts. So that would be unpleasant, but I just felt that was very unlikely. I'm going to get called sometimes here by good draws, and they're going to fold bad draws, and that means all that equity that they had, that's gone. I get the whole pot. Mine. Okay, ship it. Next hand. Let's see. All right. So, ace, king, king, deuce. My questions mostly was this post flop, but let's look at this pre flop. Right. In this situation, clearly it's what it is. Right. But how about against if the hijack had open raised, or the cutoff had open raised. Right. Against the hijack open raised, we're going to go to single suited kings. And ace deuce, yes, this is actually a 3-bet call. Interesting. That's a bit surprising. So we are 3-betting a lot of king king. Oh no, this is MP RFI. I totally messed that up. Totally messed it up. That's not right. Small blind versus MP raise. Very different. There's going to be very different results. Yeah. Okay. So this is a raceful. This chart. It's funny, like, the more I learn about what's supposed to happen pre-flop, the more when I misclick, I look at the chart and I'm like, that can't be right. It was like everything was a raise. And I was like, I don't think that's right. I don't think we raise all our single suited kings. We don't. I was looking at the wrong chart. Is RFI fold in small blind versus hijack RFI. So if there had been a raise in front of us, this is a perfect hand to 3-bet. We're blocking ace-ace, right? Because we have an ace, and we have king-king. So we're ahead of queen-queen. We're ahead of jack-jack. And the deuce, it's fine having a deuce in a hand like this because those other 3 cards are so strong, and we do have a suit, right? So a lot of, king-king with a second pair, and king-king with any ace. Did I write that? I wrote, king-king, ace-x is RFI fold in small blind versus hijack RFI, good suit or bad suit. Also, king, king, queen, queen through 4-4 single suit is RFI fold. And then there's a few hands that you RFI that you just flat. I'm not going to worry about that too much. This was a spot that I had an idea. I want to confirm that idea. I did. And so now I know how to play that spot better. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. This was an interesting post-flop hand, right? I raised pre-flop, and then I have an overpair. I have a gut shot, and I have a backdoor wheel draw, and I have a blocker to spades, right? And blockers to the straight draws. So this might not be a bad spot to bet. I didn't bet because I don't have any of the pairs on board. And so I was thinking, well, they're going to have a lot of pairs, 2 pairs. But, maybe I can get value from a queen. Maybe I should bet here. I think this might be a reasonable spot to c-bet. But maybe I'm supposed to check range on a texture like this. I'm not certain. The 3 of spades on the turn, they're going to have some spade draws that they check back. I don't think they have a lot of nut flushes because I think they bet a lot of nut flush draws when I check it to them. But, they're passive, so who knows? And they check it back, and then the river gives me a wheel. And I make this bet that if I had 6-7, I would like it more, because then I could get value from ace-deuce and deuce-6. And sometimes I say, like, yeah, you want to have an idea of what you're trying to get value from, but at the same time, you don't... Like, against these kind of loose passive players, sometimes, like, if you really think your hand is best, just put the bet out there and let them figure out what to call with, right? But, like, I'm not that confident my hand is best. They could have just made a straight with 6-7 or 6-deuce. Who knows? Especially 6-7. But also, small spades are fairly likely. So I don't like my bet. I think it was a mistake. I think a small bet's better than a big bet. I don't think trying to bluff this player makes a whole lot of sense, especially when I picked up the straight. I should just check, and then we probably just show it down and they win. Instead, I bet, they called, and we show it down and they win. So... $2 kind of burnt there, I'd say. All right, so we get a button ISO of a hijack limp. So I'm going to look at what should I do in the big blind against a cutoff squeeze, because I think that's going to be the closest approximation to what I want to be doing. All right, so let's take a look at that. Oh, we got another follower, Ed Inv. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. We are reviewing a session that I just played on Ignition, PLO100. And this is a pre-flop decision that I decided to choose the tighter path. So I'm going to look at big blind squeeze versus cutoff. And this isn't a cutoff, but they don't have this exact situation. So this is the closest approximation in my view. So we've got king, queen, double suited. I'll look at this with a 7-6. It's bad suit. So, you know, it looks like, oh, I have two straight flush draws. I have king, queen suited and 7-6 suited. Sure, but I also have a king high flush draw and a 7 high flush draw. If the king and the 6 were suited and the queen and the 7, then I'd have a king high flush draw and a queen high flush draw. And that's better. That would be more important. So I will say king, queen, 7-6 bad suit is fold versus cutoff, RFI. Let's see, fold in big blind versus cutoff, RFI, squeeze spot. King, queen, 7-6 good suit is call in same situation. So basically this hand is close because I have the bad suit version where I have a 7 high flush draw. I'm going to fold it. If I had a queen high flush draw, I would play. All right, we can proceed. Where are we at now? This hand. So this looks, I mean, it looks pretty. It's like, ooh, it's all red. Red means go. No, red means stop. I please don't take away my driver's license. But let's take a look at low jack open raises. I am going to sneeze. It is seasonal allergy time. For a long time here, there's so much stuff in the air. I'm not going to sneeze. I've changed my mind. We're going to look at ace, queen, 8-4, even good suit. This is not a play. So ace, queen, 8-4, single suited is fold in low jack, regardless of good suit, bad suit. Ace, queen, 8-5, good suit is RFI. So basically, I need my hand to be slightly better. I needed 5 instead of an 8, and even that, if I had these 4 cards of the suit, I would fold. Make the 4 like a 6 or definitely a 7, then I'd probably raise it in this combo. So this was a correct fold, but I also mostly just wanted to kind of refine that sense of how I want to play it there. This, maybe, I don't know why I overlimped this instead of raised. I guess it's fine. It seems okay. Often I think we want to have clear reasons for doing things, right? So what would be my clear reason for doing this? Well, I'm probably not pushing an equity edge by raising, and I'm probably not generating a lot of implied folding equity, meaning by raising, I'm not going to get this player to fold a lot on future streets just because I raised pre-flop, right? And I'm not pushing an equity edge. I don't think Jack 9-9-7 with a suit is like that far ahead of their whole collection of hands they might have in this spot. So for those reasons, I think overlimping makes some sense in the small blind. This is a very difficult situation to calibrate because there's just, we don't run sims for how to play against a limper. We can, I have, in Limit Hold'em and in No Limit Hold'em, but those are like very specific sims. And, you know, maybe down the line we'll get into that kind of stuff. In games like this, it can be particularly useful. And that might be the sort of materials that I want to put out there in the future where I feel like there's a need for that. And like people aren't doing that. They're just like, oh, this is how you play if everybody plays perfect. It's like, yeah, but how do I play when they don't? But let's take a look at what would I think about here? Like the button, I would raise the cutoff range. So in the small blind, should I raise the cutoff range? I'm going to look at my hijack open range and see, is this a hand that I would raise in the hijack? Single suited 9s with a jack and a 7 suited? No. So because of that, I think it's probably not a hand to raise against a hijack limper, if that makes sense. Jack 9-9-7 good suit is fold in hijack versus first in. So maybe don't raise in small blind versus hijack limper. And it wasn't so much because they're the hijack limper, it's because I want a tighter range than I would raise from the button, which I would use the cutoff range. So tighter range, then we go to hijack. That's kind of where I'm going with here. But let's look at, I think the post flop was the more interesting part of this. So we're going to get a limp, and then we over limp. And Here, I could lead out. I mean, I have an open-ended straight draw, and I have this jack-high spades. The jack-high spades are nice because they're blocking a lot of hands people will continue with. I'm not blocking any of the pairs or sets, and ultimately, I think that plus the fact that I'm only drawing to the third nut flush is why I decided to go ahead and check. I called a full pot-size bet because I felt like against this player, if I caught a 5 or a 10, those would both be the nuts unless they're a spade. And I could probably get some good value from this player if they have a strong hand. And if they don't have a strong hand, then, I can spike a 9 and it can be good. Or I can, maybe even hit a jack. Or maybe my hand's already good and they have a draw and they end up check, check, turn, and river, and I win. So I think my hand's too good here to fold. I'm not blocking any of the made hands that I think they might felt it with, and they potted it, so I don't really love a check raise. I think a check raise, if one of my 9s were a king or even an 8, and maybe they half potted it. I think that might be something to consider. Here, I check, they check. I could lead the turn, but I've got the third nuts. If they check it back, I'm going to bet a blank river. It's not a blank river. I bet the $2 and they fold. So this is another one of those little river bet spots where I was thinking yeah, maybe I get value from a king here. Maybe I get value from 2 pair on the flop, king 8, king 6. I don't think I'm beat that often. I think a player like this probably bets again with a set. I'm not sure. So I don't hate this $2 bet the way I disliked the other one earlier because I'm a lot more confident that my hand is good now. It might not be, but I don't hate this play. If anybody does hate this play, sound off in the chat or the comments, and we can talk about it. I'm always open to criticism. I think as long as it's polite and constructive, come with it, for sure. Constructive criticism can make us better. We can use it, we can listen to it, and make ourselves better through it. It's basically someone trying to help, right? Whereas just trolling and abuse, whatever. We don't need that. Lucky Kevin, I think, is how I'm going to interpret the 7. Followed. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. We are reviewing a session from Ignition, PLO100. We're nearing the end, and then I'm going to go watch Kevin E. Poker's poker stream and watch that. I'm going to try to do a raid and probably fail. I tried to see whether I could do it the other day. We'll see whether it works. Okay, aces with a suit. I raise. The world calls. Somehow the small blind didn't come up with cards they wanted to play, but everybody else did. King 9 deuce. So I have a deuce. I'm blocking the least likely card that somebody hit. I am blocking backdoor spades. I'm not blocking top set, top 2, middle set. And I don't think this is a great spot to bet 5 ways with 1 pair. I just don't think my equity's that good. And there's all these wraps that people can have. They can have a pair and a wrap pretty easily. Everybody checks. That's great. Now I turn the nut flush, draw. I'm blocking it a little bit. The king of spades might not be great, but I don't have any strong reason to suspect anybody has top 2 pair here. So I go ahead and check. Again, if I had a 10 or a jack, I might bet this as sort of a semi-bluff. First of all, I'd have more outs because then since I have the ace, I could make the Broadway. But this feels like I really want to be blocking this straight because it's just so easy for people to have this straight. That's exactly Jack 10. People like to get dealt Jack 10 and then play it. So this player bets half pot, and I decide to go ahead and call, right? Which, I'm not getting direct odds for it. I've got, what do I have? I've got 3-1 here, right? They bet about half pot. I'm getting 3-1 after rake. So 3-1, I don't have 25% equity against the nuts. But there's a chance that my hand's good. There's a chance I have additional outs like a deuce, a queen, a king, a 9. If they not if they have a straight, but say they have king, queen, a deuce or a 9 will be good. So I do think I have additional equity here, and I believe I have implied odds where if I catch a clean spade, I think I'm going to be able to bet and get a call from this player pretty often enough to close the gap on you know, the fact that I don't have quite enough equity to make this call for direct odds. Now, I have two players behind me that I could be concerned with. I feel like they'd usually bet the Jack 10, and you know, they're fairly passive, so I don't think they're going to make some like weird play at the pot. I would rather be closing the action, and you know, for that reason, I think you can entertain a fold, but I'm not too worried about those players because they've already checked. They've checked after I've checked. So the river's a deuce, which is a pretty good looking card, right? If they had king, queen, king, nine, queen, nine, I've now pulled ahead in multiple ways. I have aces and deuces, and I have three deuces with an ace, two ways. So as any combination of my cards not involving the three beats king, queen. But I don't see really a value bet here. Jack 10's still beating me. They also could have a hand like queen, deuce, queen, queen. You know, maybe they check two pair on the flop. Not so likely. I think they probably have Jack 10 here. And against some players, I could turn this into a bluff maybe. But that doesn't seem like a coherent approach against someone who's playing 63% of their hands. And I think the value comes from having queen, queen here and check raising all in and getting called by Jack 10, not by trying to bluff them off something like that. And if they're value betting king, queen, okay, I'm going to actually mark this one for looking at what they had. I'm going to check it out, and we'll kind of get a refined sense of like, what do people have here? Are people like this value betting Jack 10 on this spot when the board pairs? I don't know. And if they are, then that lends a little bit more to like, yeah, I think if I hit the spade, I think I get paid, even though the spade should probably be more threatening than the deuce, because for the deuce to improve me, I would have had to have two pair or a set. And maybe queen, queen is like the only thing that I might play this way. Okay, next hand. 3377. This one I marked just to kind of look at like, what am I doing with hands like this in this spot? I'm very confident that I am going to, in, let's see, big blind, squeeze versus button. That is not in here. They don't have it. Why do they have... Yeah, okay. So big blind squeeze against cutoff. We'll take a look at that. We'll look at this double suited pair, sevens and trays. And, okay, so sevens and threes is a call, but sevens and sixes, sevens and fives, sevens and fours, those hands are wants to 3-bet call. So that's interesting. So 7733 double suited is call versus cutoff RFI and small blind cold call. So maybe this hand even I could actually 3-bet. 7766 through 44 double suited is RFI is 3-bet call versus cutoff RFI and small blind cold call. So learned something there. I'm not going to dig too much deeper into that. Basically, these double suited two pair hands, we can play them in spots like this, right? That makes a lot of sense. Let's look at double suited like threes or something. Like 3-3-2-2, yeah, it calls that too, right? So I'm thinking basically any double suited pair. Let's look at like 9-9 deuce deuce. Yeah, so we'll say heuristic, probable heuristic, call or 3-bet with any double suited, double paired hand in this spot. Okay, so we're never going to fold a hand like that, which I don't know if I would have, but I would have been unsure with like 3-3 deuce deuce, stuff like that. We flop absolutely nothing. We check. They bet half pot. There's a call. There's just nothing to see here. Move along, and we'll go to this hand. How many more do we have left? Just a few hands. Here we get a raise, and here I was thinking maybe this is a 3-bet in this spot. This would be a squeeze spot, so I don't know. Let's take a look. We'll call it small blind squeeze versus cutoff or versus under the gun. Let's say versus under the gun because they're raising against a limper. That's like they should have more of a low hijack range, but we're going to give them the low jack range. We're going to look at ace 8 double suited. This is the best variety of this hand, and it does want to actually raise call this. So I will make a note of that. And ace 8 7 5 double suited, good suit, bad suit, is 3-bet call versus we're gonna say in small blind versus under the gun squeeze spot. So this is a little different than that, right? And I like that I identified this as a potentially good 3-bet hand. I also liked that I flatted because just looking at the lineup, I feel like this is going to be a good place to flat. You know, we get this 5-way pot. Yes, we're out of position, but we have an SPR where if we flop a good piece, like we can probably check raise all in, or we can go pot, and I think we're going to have a lot of good opportunities here. So I like my play pre-flop. It feels like a little adjustment based on the dynamic of the game. I'm fine with it. They bet, you know, substantially, and we just don't have anything to continue with here, and we move along. All right, double suited sixes with a 10-7. This would be the same situation, right? This would be actually big blind squeeze against under the gun. So big blind squeeze under the gun. Double suited sixes, we're going to take a look at that, and with a 10 and a 7, it's a call, right? Just straightforward call. 6-6, 10-7 double suited is call in big blind versus low jack squeeze spot, or low jack and cold call is actually how we can describe it more specifically. Let's go back to here. Cool. Okay. And yeah, so that's, I think that's pretty straightforward. 6-6 double suited with any two connected side cards is call here. We'll just call it that. 3-bet with 6-6 5-5 4-4 double suited and 6-6 ace king double suited. Fold, and here call versus 4-bet. Fold versus 4-bet. Okay, so learning. If it's 6-6 5-5 or 6-6 4-4 double suited, we're gonna 3-bet and we're gonna call. And if it comes with the ace and the king, we're gonna 3-bet and then fold because you know, we're not in good shape there. Let's see what happens on the flop. This was this one. Okay, so I flop an open-ender, but the 9 is not to the nuts. I have a 10, but my kicker's a 7, and really only the 4-4s give me the nuts. A 6 is going to be pretty good, but it's going to complete some straights, which I will be blocking. So, you know, against a half-pot bet, I think I call here. Against an aggro player, maybe I should call this bet anyway. Maybe I should put this into like a check-raising range. I'm not super sure, but I decided to, you know, just go ahead and fold because there just weren't a lot of, I feel like my equity is not robust, right? There's a lot of turn cards that are pretty good, but there's not a lot of turn cards that are great that I'm going to be able to play really with confidence on future streets. If a 9 comes and my opponent wants to get a lot of money in, that's maybe not so great. If a 4 comes and they want to get a lot of money in, let's go, right? But if a 10 comes and they want to get a lot of money in, again, not that great. So I folded. And backdoor spades also. I had small backdoor spades. So last hand of the day, I fold this hand. I think this was a clear fold, but I want to check out, how about in the cutoff? Do I raise this hand? I think maybe I raise this hand in the cutoff. Let's take a look. It's maybe a little too loose. A little too loose, right? So it is. So queen 9, 8, 5, double suited, good suit, is fold in cutoff. Queen 9, 8, 6 double suited is RFI call, or 4-bet versus, or 4-bet out of position, right? I think out of position we're going to 4-bet some of these. Queen 9, 7, 6. So let's see. Queen 9 double suited is RFI from cutoff with 8, 7, 8, 6, 7, 6, 6, 5. That's it. Those are the hands that I'm going to play in that spot. This I will RFI on the button. I'm quite confident. Let's take a very brief look at that. And yes, so we'll say queen 9, 8, 5 double suited is RFI call from button. As is 7-5. Okay. All right. I think that is it for today. That's it for this hand for sure. I folded. And yeah, I just want to say thanks so much. Oh, wow. Got two more. WW Maya, thank you for the follow. And J Scotty for real, thank you as well. I'm at 57 now. I began the day at 49. Yesterday I was at 44. Yeah, just thanks so much to everybody who's been a part of this, helping me, you know, make twitching, make streaming actually like potentially be a thing. As I was saying, while playing poker, it kind of can eventually function sort of as a form of rakeback, like just getting, you know, a few extra dollars while doing something that I am playing for money. I'm trying to win. So far that's been going well in this particular format, but you know, it's subject to great variance, which anybody who's played a lot of poker I think can relate to. So having, you know, being able to build an additional income stream I think is very helpful for the poker, but also I want to expand to doing other types of content, you know, games like chess and maybe some RPGs or whatever, studying languages, and maybe eventually doing some fiction or music, some podcasting type stuff. So yeah, being able to have more of a platform that that I can monetize and also just reach viewers, you know, is very important to me and will help a lot in the long run. So I appreciate the follow from every single one of you. And this has been day 24 of my Pot Limit Omaha journey. So I'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time every day, and until for the foreseeable future. And pretty soon I'll start adding some other types of streams. So thanks again. And if you're on YouTube watching this, you can hit like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you later. Have a great rest of your week. Cheers.